Morning friends, Drew and German here, hanging out in Oxford, Pennsylvania. Customer called us, asked us to help get a bathroom vanity in for them. It's a bit heavy to get it up the stairs and getting the plumbing cut and up through the bottom of this beautiful chest. They wanted to make sure that it was done right, so we're going to take care of that for them here today. And plumbing's already been, we took the valves off that, we shut the water off, and so now we're going to get our measurements, get those transferred into the cabinet, and get ready to bring things up and through. We'll keep you posted here throughout the day.
A few moments later.
Vanity is in, at least partially. We have our holes drilled and located properly for the supply and the drains have to go. We've got them cut nice and tight. We've got some escutcheon rings that we're going to put on those so that they're pretty. And then the next step is going to be securing this to the wall, finding the studs, and putting the valves in. And once we have the secured, shimmed, level, and everything happy on the plumbing side, then we can start putting the top one. So we've got the vanity where it needs to be. It's set in place. We're just got to screw that to the wall. And so we're going to start working on getting the plumbing into the sink. And that starts with the tailpiece here for the drain. And then we'll get the faucets in. And once we have this all plumbed up, then we can set it on top into some clear silicone in the four corners on top of the vanity, and then make the connections underneath. A couple quick tips when you're putting these together. Whenever you have one of these plastic tailpieces with the threads on, and the nice part with this Kohler one is the threads stop before it gets up into the body here. But there's other less expensive brands that run the threads all the way in, and guaranteed every time you're going to get water leaking down into these threads. So before I put the rubber washer in, here's a little cone-shaped donut ring that fits in there. I always put silicone on that, and then before I slide it up, that way we get silicone between that donut compression ring and the body of the stem here. And I also make sure I get some up on the outside, because anytime I've ever put these together without some silicone in there, they've always leaked. So that's just a belt and suspenders. Make sure you're not having problems there. These are fairly standard type connections for how these go in. You simply slide the fixture down from the top. There's either plumber's putty or a gasket on this side, and then you run the flat washer in. You screw the tightening washer on, and you take a Phillips head screwdriver. Do not use your screw gun. Use your Phillips head screwdriver very carefully. Tighten these. This is a fairly standard centerpiece. You don't want to bend this copper tubing too much. Keep that nice and straight. Don't get any kinks in it. Put this on, get this straight, and then before you tighten any of this down, make sure everything is square on the top and where it needs to be and centered up. And we'll finalize that before I tighten these. And if there's a name brand logo or something on the centerpiece here, make sure that you've got that facing the correct direction and it's square and parallel, and that everything looks really nice on that. So we're going to get this tightened up, and by that point we should be ready to go test fit it on the countertop, put it where it belongs. Two other quick tips when you're putting this together. Try to leave these screws on the left and the right side. Don't hem them up real tight in here behind the sink. Do the next guy a favor. When they go to take it apart, they can get to them easily. So I like to align those nice and straight. We're going to make sure that all the handles are in the same locations on both sides. Don't over tighten this, and very, very important on this one right here, do not over tighten this nut. And the reason being, it's just a very thin piece of plastic on the inside here holding this. And well, this is a nice Kohler one, but we've had some cheap ones that customers have provided where it's a threaded connection on the top. And if you over tighten this nut down here in the bottom, it can actually pop and separate that top nut, and then it's broken. And for $20, you can buy a nice metal one. Now, the Kohler did a nice setup on this where it's molded one piece, so life should be happy. But just something else to be aware of when you're putting these together. So we've turned the water back on. We've got our valves back in here. We did take one of the 𝗷𝘂𝘀𝘀s and connect it from the top of this just to be able to feed it down into the drain. And we flushed both lines to clear any sawdust, anything else that may have possibly gotten down and in there, and just the sediment from the water being turned off. Sometimes the stuff in the inside of the pipes dries out and you get a little brown rust if your well comes out the first time. So we don't want to flush that into the aerator on the new faucet. So we kind of quickly flush the lines, and then we take those 𝗷𝘂𝘀𝘀 connectors. And my preference is always to make the connections up here above deck, because trying to get wrenches into this from underneath is very difficult oftentimes. So if I can make those connections before we put it all together, that makes my life a lot easier. So we're gonna get these tightened up, and then we're gonna set the top. Vanity top is in. We completely filled the sink with water, tested the overflow, and then did a flood test and released all that water down into the trap assembly to test that and check for drips. We didn't have any problems there, which was excellent. So everything's held up. We took our backsplash And we created circles of silicone on the back of this and a line across the back edge, set that into the silicone. And by making those circles, you create a suction that when you push it in, it grabs and it doesn't come back out until the silicone sets up. So that's one quick way to do that. You can also use PL grab. There's other different products we can use, but silicone works just fine for something like this. If it was a kid's bathroom, we go crazy sealing all the edges, being that this is a master. We're not so worried about siliconing every last little piece of this to the drywall. It may actually look prettier if we don't. And so this project is just about finished. We got to put the drawers in and finish cleaning up. If we can solve a problem for you, give our team a call. Dedicated office staff standing by to answer your phone calls weekdays, 9:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon at 484-748-0008. Choose option 2 for Cope Construction and Renovation, and extension 2 for new projects. Cope Build is your full service construction and renovation company and a Pennsylvania home improvement contractor number 88078. Remember, we're finished with it. You're proud to say it's not just done. It was Cope Built. We'll catch you on another video. Bye for now.